Second day of EJF 2016. We are with Madhulika Sikka. Thank you for being our guest.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's start with the first question. You worked as a former executive producer, if I'm not wrong, with News Nightline, and you were the former executive director for Mike, a magazine designed for millennials. So, can you tell us the difference between the audience of millennials and the audience of baby boomers?
Well, I was at ABC News a long time ago, where I was senior producer for Nightline. Things are just so different right now. It's sort of hard to compare. I think generally there's a little too much made of this notion of millennials only. I think that I was a millennial once, and I was interested in news when I was millennial. I think that really what it speaks to more is, I think people like to talk about millennial-minded. I think that just means being engaged and up to date in the world around us, certainly in terms of technology. I'm a news purist. I think ultimately news is news, and you have to adapt for the different times. So things I did at Nightline worked then. Things that you have to do now, you have to use the technology that's available.
So there's no difference. I mean, maybe for the millennials, the image is more important than the content.
I don't think that's true. I think that's unfair to millennials. I think that a good story is a good story. And the challenge in reaching any audience, regardless of their age, is to tell a story that they are going to be interested in and compelled by. And I think that's the most important thing. Obviously, if you're older, you may have different interests economically or professionally. But, for culturally and science and health and those things, you can, there's more commonality, I think, than people tend to think so.
So my final question is, what are, in your opinion, the biggest mistakes that journalists usually do when they try to engage a community?
I think that engaging a community that is big, when you talk about boomers, in America that's, 75 million, 80 million people. When you talk about millennials, that's 80 million Americans. You can't appeal to everyone for everything. I think there's sort of a base layer of interest that maybe you can appeal to, but it's hard to do. Otherwise, you need to be a little more focused, I think, and then build upon the focus that you have. I think that going for a big audience, just for a big audience, sometimes can lead to problems.